How about this one? Effectiveness or efficiency?
I think effectiveness. You can be as efficient as you want, but if you can't deliver the outcome effectively, then there's no point in doing it.
What inspired you to find pharma and the life science industry?
I sort of fell into pharma in some respects.
What are some of the differences that you noticed between, say, working for Johnson & Johnson with the biotech company versus the University College of London?
And it wasn't until I got to third year that I really became inquisitive, and the curiosity part of what drives me. It's been the hard road. I've taken on the roles that no one else has wanted to take, but in doing so, I've become a much better professional and a better person as well. I'm super resilient because of it. I've had everything that you can go wrong in my career go wrong.
So imagine this. You're a science nerd deep in academia, dreaming about changing the world with medicinal chemistry and pharmacology. But then bam! Reality hits and you find yourself in the corporate jungle, dodging every career disaster imaginable. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, for Tim Boyle, it was just a Tuesday. Very excitingly, today we have the honour of sitting down with ARC's CEO, Tim Boyle. He is a medicinal chemistry mastermind and a guy who has faced more career plot twists than a Netflix thriller. One thing that really struck me about Tim is how personable and how generous he was with his time for someone at the C-suite level, especially a CEO. He has very humble beginnings. Tim is going to be sharing his knowledge on resilience, leadership, and why failing spectacularly can sometimes be the best thing that has ever happened to you. So if you've ever thought about making the jump from academia to industry, or you just want to hear some wild career stories, strap in for this roller coaster ride. And make sure you stick around to the end because Tim's got some golden advice that may change your career forever.
Super excited for today's interview. Very special guest. I never thought when we started this channel we'd have a CEO and a founder on this channel. And I was at a conference not too long ago. There was a founder of a company there and I asked him, I said, would you come onto the channel? He looked at the channel, he sort of laughed in my face, which was a pretty humbling experience. He said, come back to me when you've got 1,000 subscribers. So to have someone of your stature, Tim, you know, CEO, founder, achieved so many things in the industry, I'm really humbled to have you here and yeah, super grateful. So thank you on behalf of the audience and welcome.
No, thank you. It's great to be here, and you know, I'll turn up anywhere to talk about the sector and about roles and opportunities to work in the sector. So thanks for having me.
No, we're very honoured to have you here. Now, I'm going to go through the rap sheet to tell the audience a little bit about some of your amazing achievements. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. Bachelor of Medicinal Chemistry at the University of Wollongong, PhD in Chemistry from the University of Wollongong. You're starting to sound like someone suitable for the cast of Breaking Bad. Work-wise, started in Pharma, Johnson & Johnson in clinical trials.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, please correct me.
So I was doing drug discovery chemistry with Johnson & Johnson, where it was so long ago, so I'm going to talk about it, where we took metabolites from Tasmanian alkaloids and made massive combinatorial libraries and did rapid mass screening of those. It was quite a prosperous time for us from a drug discovery perspective.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah. And I think one of the first things that I noticed is I think you're my first non-sales guest on the channel. So first of many. Now, correct me if this is wrong. Your second role was in academia at the University College of London as the research fellow.
Yes.
Got that right?
Yep.
Tick. Then went over to do some work for Thomson Reuters as the senior business analyst. Mm-hmm. And then back to university, UNSW as the senior BDM. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you were the director of innovation at ANSTO, the Australian Nuclear Science and Tech Organisation, for 9 years.
Yeah, I moved from UNSW to ANSTO.
Okay. Yeah. Founder of the Nandin Innovation Centre, which is 5 years young. Mm-hmm. You're a professor at Swinburne University and currently the CEO of ARC's.
Yes.
Yep, got the rap sheet right. Other things that we spoke about off camera that I found super interesting is you're a UniSeed investment committee member.
I was many years ago.
And an advisory board member for Out the Back Ventures. So I think that your experience is very broad. And to summarize, I love your LinkedIn bio. You're an evangelist for capacity building and the translation of research into new products and services to create societal impact. So I've got a little game that I prepared to bring you a little bit closer to the audience. It's just a quick this or that. In no particular order, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Oh, night owl, okay. Sauna or ice bath?
Ooh, sauna.
Sauna, even in the heat?
Yep, even in the heat.
Surfing or fishing?
Once upon a time it would have been surfing, but now it's fishing.
Yep. Test the waters or dive in the deep end, building off that question?
Ooh, both. I like to have my cake and eat it too. So I would, sometimes it calls for testing the waters, but most of the time you just need to have a leap of faith and go for it.
Yeah. Well, always check the shark reports before diving.
Yeah, that's important as well.
Education or experience?
Both. I think education helps you create the opportunities, but experience lets you capitalise on them.
Yeah, very good answer. Yeah. I like that. Although very diplomatic too. How about this one? Effectiveness or efficiency?
I think effectiveness. You can be as efficient as you want, but if you can't deliver the outcome effectively, then there's no point in doing it.
Yep, spot on. Last one, this is going to feel like picking a favourite child. Pharma or medtech?
Ooh, I think that they're sort of the same in some respects. I think there's a lot of crossover skills in the sector that code both of them. I think from a technology perspective, I really love the pace of medtech and the rapid intervention. But deep in my heart, I love pharma, and I love the pharmacology and the medicinal chemistry and the science of pharma.
That's the chemist in you, shining true. Love that. Thank you for playing the game with me. Now, so this first part, would love to pick apart a little bit about your career journey and have some of your industry insights. You've had a remarkable career in research translation and IP commercialization. Similar to a triathlete, you're a tri-sector professional, academia, industry and government. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what inspired you to find pharma and the life science industry?
Yeah, so I think it was, I sort of fell into pharma in some respects. When I was at school, I did physics and chemistry, and I thought I wanted to be an engineer, but then I think something clicked and I realised that I liked people. I worked in a pharmacy when I was at school. I did the drug delivery run, taking prescriptions to elderly people in my area, and I realised I didn't want to be a pharmacist because of that. But at the same time, I was interested in the chemistry and the science behind where I was working, and I think I had a bit of a false start. But when I was doing my university selections, I think I made the right choice, and I landed on Bachelor of Medicinal Chemistry at University of Wollongong, and not really realising that the career opportunities that come from that, or what career opportunities exist within the broader pharma sector. I was quite lucky. I was a late bloomer, and it wasn't until I got to third year that I really became inquisitive, and the curiosity part of what drives me really made me be successful. And then when I got into a research environment, I really excelled. My marks were only so up until the second half of my third year, and then it became very, very good. And at the end of my undergraduate degree, I could basically do whatever I wanted. My results were really, really good. I was offered PhD scholarships from 3 different universities. Wow. I did the GAMSAT and got really, really good marks in the GAMSAT, but decided I didn't want to do graduate medicine and pursue research instead. And my research project was with a biotech company, which was ASX listed, MRAD, and then they demutualised a spin-off called Avexa, which looked at anti-infectives. And I fell into pharma that way, and then I was lucky enough to get a fellowship with Johnson & Johnson when I finished my PhD.
Yeah, wow, super fascinating, and Yeah, I suppose reflecting on your career to date, was there a particular role where you thought, like looking back at it, I was at my best self, my happiest self, and what was it about that role that made you so happy?
Yeah, I think the innocence of being early in your career is more exciting because you've got less consequence for making mistakes, and making mistakes is how we learn. So I think back then I was very, very curious. I had the means and the luxury around me that if the worst thing happened and I lost my job, the consequences wouldn't be huge. And I really went for it. I was inquisitive, I asked questions, I networked prolifically and built a huge network around me. But because of that, it set me up to be a better leader and a better professional. And making the leap, as mentioned earlier, from academia across the industry with Thomson, I talked my way into a job that I had no reason being in, and then became an expert in that. And I think it really let me know that I guess the way I learn and my curiosity-driven approach, I can do anything if I put my mind to it. And I think that's a differentiator that I found early in my career that set me up for success.
Yeah, it sounds like that experience of getting out of your comfort zone, you develop that growth mindset. And I know we talked about before this interview, taking the hard route.
I take the hard road every time. I try to learn things from first principles. And if you're not challenging yourself, someone told me you might as well start an ant farm. I take, you're dead inside if you're not pushing yourself and you're not continually going outside your comfort zone. You can stay in your comfort zone for a little while, but at the end of the day, you need to be pushing yourself to grow. And I think every role I've had, every opportunity I've created, I've stepped into something that's slightly unknown. It's been a leap of faith. It's been the hard road. I've taken on the roles that no one else has wanted to take. But in doing so, I've become a much better and more proficient professional and a better person as well. I'm super resilient because of it. I've had everything that you can go wrong in my career go wrong, and I know how to handle those situations now.
Yep, and I think that's full credit to you in terms of, I think about, the man on top of the mountain didn't just drop there and like a phoenix emerging from the fire. All these experiences, why we're lucky to have a CEO speaking to our audience. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Now guys, did you know with Tim's chemistry background, he can recite the entire periodic table in under 1 minute? No, I'm only kidding. But if you do want to see that, subscribe to the next video and we'll try to get him to do that. No, in all seriousness, what Tim has a lot of expertise on is clinical research. And early in your career as a research fellow, both in academia and in pharma, what are some of the differences that you notice between, say, working for Johnson & Johnson with the biotech company versus the University College of London?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference was the purpose and the reasoning, and also the resources that were available. So I think there isn't a huge difference between industry and academia from an individual person's perspective. I've facilitated many discussions between people in industry with people in academia from a industry academic partnerships perspective. And the one thing that drives them is the common science behind what they're doing. And people in industry say that academics don't want to talk to them because they're too caught up in their own problems. Academics say they don't want to talk to industry because that's the dark side. But when you break it down to the interest of the science, I've never had an academic say, I don't want to talk to someone about my research. And when you can find the common ground and footing, that's where the magic happens. So sometimes the drivers behind industry and academia are different in that academics are looking at advancing knowledge, professionally looking at publication and winning grants for promotion. Industry, completely different. It's around the bottom line. It's about building tangible assets that you can take to market and sell that also have the benefits of being interventions to treat problems and patients.
Yeah.
So fundamentally different drivers, similar purpose in science, and when you break that down, but also coming from an industry lab, we're very, very well funded. When I was Johnson & Johnson, I was privy to having the first microwave synthesis apparatus in Australia, which was very desired kit back in the early 2000s. And then going to work in an academic lab where you're basically scraping and scrounging for everything. I came from an industry background, so I wasn't competitive with grants. It was a big wake-up call. Also, in the academic environment, I had to teach, and I didn't really like teaching. And I realised that each year I was in academia, those around me were staying the same age while I was getting older. Very transient group of colleagues I was working with, and in industry it was much more stable. So they're the big differences that I found.
Yeah, super. Like I think coming back to it, finding that common ground, because having been someone that goes out and sees some of these academics or practitioners, I think early days there was a bit of that. Oh, I don't want to see this pharma clinical trial data because it's biased. But actually, to your point, there's actually a common science. There's actually a greater good. Yes, pharmaceutical companies do exist for a bottom line, but this is real science, right? And potentially without pharmaceutical investment in certain disease areas, then medicines don't make it to benefit patients.
Yeah, well, there's a bigger economic perspective around everything we do, and the world revolves around money. The research that people do in academia and academics do, very, very valuable, and universities and medical research institutes are 100% force for good, but they're funded through grants, which often come from taxpayer money, and that taxpayer money comes from collecting taxes from productivity that's earned in the private sector and in industry. So you can't have one without the other. We need patients to be the purchasers of drugs, and governments also to be the purchasers of drugs and pharmaceuticals and medical technologies for society. But those revenues go back in taxes, or should go back in taxes, to governments, which then help contribute towards further research. So it is a virtuous cycle, and the bigger the economy gets, theoretically, the more money there is in that virtuous cycle to benefit everyone.
Yeah, I love that explanation, and very insightful in explaining how everything interlinks. I'm not sure if you caught this. The Australian Research Magazine 2025, they published some results across 66 fields of health and medical science. First place, Monash University, 25 out of the 66 therapy areas. Went to them as a leading institution. Second place, University of Sydney, with only half, 12 out of the 66. Something must be going on down there in Melbourne. But super impressive. And I think coming back to the cycle of everything, how everything can tie in, like, why not synergize? Like, we can work together. It's not good versus bad. Actually, we can help each other as industry, academia.
It takes a village, and I think you touched upon the tri-sector professional piece, and you need all three stakeholders, or as a fourth stakeholder as well, which is often government owned as well. So you need industry, academia and government. Often you need research infrastructure to also enable the big discoveries and the step change. And that research infrastructure could be mass infrastructure like the Australian synchrotron or the Opal reactor, or it could be softer infrastructure that's distributed. So things like infrastructure owned and apparatus owned by the National Imaging Facility that's distributed, or the Australian Centre for Genomics. These are things that are available, spread across multiple universities, but have a very specific role in discovery, but are available to everyone.
Yeah. Future's looking bright.
Hope so.
All right, if you thought this was good, wait until you see what we have in part 2 of this series for you. Tim's going to break down the 7 steps you need to break into pharma or medtech. No fluff, just real advice. And as an extra bonus, we dive into future trends. And trust me, some of these future trends will blow your mind. Click here for part 2.